Welcome, students, to today's Explainer. Recently, a massive 65-page presentation from a Peking University elective course completely leaked online. And let me tell you, students from literally every major were fighting tooth and nail just to get a seat in that lecture hall. Why? Well, because this wasn't some sketchy seminar on speculative gambling or your typical get-rich-quick tutorial. Not at all. It was actually a required life skills masterclass on structural financial literacy, basically how young professionals entering the workforce can actually survive capitalism. It systematically dismantled all those toxic illusions of easy money and replaced them with a really rigorous professional framework. So today, we're going to walk through that exact curriculum together.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our syllabus for today. We'll start with Investing 101, uncover the truth about the market, break down the three-dimensional framework, go over professional trade execution, review fatal errors to avoid, and finally, learn how patience builds true wealth. It's a structured masterclass built purely from the data, so let's get started. Section 1. Welcome to Investing 101. Before we even think about looking at a single chart or talking valuation, we have to completely debunk this toxic, really pervasive illusion that the stock market is just some giant ATM waiting to dispense cash to beginners. Just consider this number. According to official exchange data for short-term retail traders, folks who hold their positions for less than a month, their win rate is an absolutely abysmal 9.3%. And their average annualized return, a painful negative 15.8%. If you're treating the market like a casino, make no mistake, the house is absolutely crushing you. Let's move to and see how this builds when we simply change the timeline. If an investor just extends their holding period to over a year, their win rate skyrockets to 41.2%, right alongside an average positive return of 8.3%. And honestly, that return actually beats out the vast majority of standard bank wealth management products. Time in the market completely changes the math. It moves you from guaranteed structural failure over to statistical probability.
So, what this tells us is that there are actually two entirely different games being played out there. On one side, you've got day trading. This is that chaotic, zero-sum gambler mindset. Think about it. If you make $1 chasing daily volatility, you are literally stealing it from someone else who just lost it. The odds are heavily stacked against you. But on the other side, you have long-term investing. This is positive-sum wealth building. You're patiently holding broad market indexes or fundamentally solid companies, and your wealth is growing because the underlying economy and corporate profits are actually growing. You're participating in real value creation, not just flipping a coin.
All right, moving to Section 2, the truth about the market. Who exactly are you fighting? And this brilliantly illustrates why day trading is such a losing game for the everyday young professional. We have to look at the structural realities of who you're actually up against. Think of it like a market pyramid. At the very top, you've got national funds acting as market stabilizers. Just below them, the exchanges, who, by the way, make money on fees no matter which way the market goes. Then come the major corporate shareholders with a near-zero cost basis. Below them are the massive institutions, fully equipped with absolute armies of analysts and lightning-fast trading algorithms. And right down there at the very, very bottom, us, the retail investors. We have zero information advantage. We have zero capital advantage. So when an everyday investor tries to play a short-term game against the heavyweights at the top, it's a structural mismatch that's pretty much guaranteed to end in a loss.
Section 3, the three-dimensional framework. Let's look at the top-down checklist.
Since we obviously don't have inside information or billions of dollars to throw around, we have to rely on a strict top-down checklist to evaluate any new opportunity. Professional investors don't just randomly pick a stock because they recognize the brand logo on their way to work. No way. They demand that three crucial dimensions align perfectly before risking a single dollar: the macroeconomic cycle, the industry track, and the specific company's quality. If even one of these three dimensions is off, you walk away. Period.
Let's start with the first dimension, macro. Economic cycles are exactly like the four seasons. If you plant the absolute best, highest quality seeds in the dead of winter, they're going to freeze. It doesn't matter how good the seeds are. Back in 2018, the broader market was in a severe winter-like recessionary cycle, and even elite, fundamentally flawless companies like Kweichow Moutai saw their stock plummet by 40%. Why? Because the overarching macro cycle was entirely against them. You absolutely must know what season the economy is in before you deploy your capital.
Dimension 2 is the industry, which we can think of as the track. Industries go through clear life cycles: startup, growth, mature, and decline. If you invest in an industry during its growth stage, like, say, the new energy sector between 2019 and 2021, Even mid-tier companies can hand you massive gains. A rising tide lifts all boats, right? But if you invest in a declining industry, well, just look at the highly leveraged real estate sector recently. Companies like Huaxa Happiness experienced a staggering 95% total collapse from their peak. You could literally be a genius analyst, but if you're standing on a sinking ship, you are going down with it.
The third and final dimension is company quality. So if the season is right and the track is fast, you still have to ask 3 vital things about the specific company. First, how exactly does it make money? Second, does it have a true commercial moat to actually sustain that profit? And third, is the current valuation cheap or at the very least reasonable? Think about the infamous Luckin Coffee collapse. It had massive, massive market hype, but its commercial model was literally just burning cash to acquire users without any sustainable profits. Learning to distinguish between a company's true commercial moat and just speculative market hype, that's the difference between investing and literally setting your money on fire.
Section 4, Professional Trade Execution. This is the lab practicum part of the course.
So the crucial point is that knowing what to buy is really only half the battle. Now we need to talk about execution and managing your capital. Let's look at the 4 strict rules professional investors use. Rule number 1 is calculating basic position sizing for beginners using the strict 3-3-4 method, 30% in a stable base position, 30% for active swing trades, and a mandatory 40% kept strictly in cash reserves. You never, ever go all in. Back in 2015, there was a tragic case of an investor who went fully margined into CRRC stock at its absolute peak. When it dropped, his entire account was completely wiped out. The 3-3-4 method mathematically prevents that kind of total ruin. It ensures you always have some ammunition left in the chamber.
Rule number 2 is the golden rule of risk control. Trading is not prediction, it is response. Amateurs constantly try to guess what the market will do tomorrow based on a gut feeling or a news headline. Professionals, they don't guess. They build a system of strict entry and exit reactions. It's simple. If X happens, I do Y. This removes the emotional guessing game entirely and anchors every single action you take in predefined logic. Rule number 3 is all about setting aggressive stop losses to preserve your capital at all costs. Specifically, a hard exit if a stock drops 5% below your buy price. And rule number 4 is macro protection, a mandatory total portfolio clearance if the broader 60-day moving average is broken. Why be this strict? Because ignoring discipline is fatal. Just look at LEGO investors, who held onto a falling knife, desperately hoping it would bounce back. They rode that stock all the way down to 18 cents until it delisted. Stop losses preserve your capital so you can actually live to trade another day. Moving on to Section 5, Fatal Errors to Avoid. Let's start the final exam portion of our explainer. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing the 10 critical amateur mistakes that systematically drain retail brokerage accounts. Ready? Number 1. The absurdity of human psychology. People will spend days researching a $10 pack of toilet paper, but then dump their life savings into a stock based on a 3-minute chat room rumor. 2. Maintaining insanely high turnover rates. Data shows an average 28-day holding period leads 80% of retail traders to pure losses. 3. Averaging down on losing positions instead of cutting them. 4. Trading without a strict stop loss. 5. Confusing a great consumer product with a great stock valuation. 6. Totally ignoring the overarching macroeconomic cycle before buying. 7. Going all in on a single equity rather than using proper position sizing. 8. Treating the market like a casino to chase a quick dopamine hit rather than an arena for wealth creation. 9. Trying to predict daily price movements instead of reacting with a systematic response. And finally, number 10, relying entirely on blind luck rather than committing to a disciplined top-down framework. Finally, Section 6, Patience Builds True Wealth. Let's graduate. As we wrap up this masterclass, I want you to remember that the market is not a casino of luck. It's an arena where knowledge is monetized. As the professor so powerfully stated in the lecture, you can never earn money beyond your cognitive level. Since we, as retail investors, don't have a structural advantage sitting at the bottom of the pyramid, time, patience, and rigorously educating yourself are literally the only real edges you possess. If you make money by blind luck today, trust me, the market will eventually take it right back tomorrow through your lack of skill. So, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to carry into your careers. Every single time you open your brokerage app from now on, ask yourself, are you here to gamble your future away, chasing a dopamine hit? Or are you ready to step up, abandon the destructive casino mindset, use the 3-dimensional framework, strictly manage your risks, and patiently build true wealth? The choice is entirely yours. Keep learning, stay disciplined, and thank you for attending today's Explainer.